our blessed Redeemer. Sing over this wonderful God proclaim. Hail him, highest archangels in glory. Strength and honor give to his holy name. Like a shepherd, Jesus will guard his children. In his arms he carries them all day long. Praise him, tell of his excellent greatness. Praise him, ever in joyful song. Praise him, Jesus our blessed Redeemer. For our sins he suffered and bled and died. He our rock, our hope of eternal salvation. Hail him, Jesus the crucified. Sound his praises, Jesus who bore our sorrows. Love unbounded, wonderful, deep and strong. Praise him, tell of his excellent greatness. Praise him, ever in joyful song. Praise him, Jesus our blessed Redeemer. Heavenly portals, loud with hosannas ring. Jesus, Savior, reigneth forever and ever. Crown him, prophet and priest and king. Christ is coming, over the world victorious. Power and glory unto the Lord belong. Praise him, tell of his excellent greatness. Praise him, ever in joyful song. Let's pray. Our dear Heavenly, most gracious Father, Lord, we ask that we will always praise you. We're grateful for your Son who died on the cross, that if we accept what he says and do it in his will, that we will have forgiveness of sins. Lord, we're grateful for the redemption that we can have of our sins. Lord, we ask that you bless our congregation here, that we may be able to grow, hopefully in spirit, grow spiritually and hopefully in numbers as well, as your will allow. Thank you for all that you've given us. In Jesus Christ we pray.
Together this weekend, she said she needs a good shot. And knock it out of it, especially if she can't.
see this morning? Job. Tell me one thing about Job that you can remember.
Names spelled like Job.
Spelled like Job. Did he work? Did Job work? Job worked. Job worked. Haven't thought about that way, but yeah, it's the way we spelled job was the way we pronounced Job. He did work, which is kind of where I was heading. He was a rich man. True or false? True. True. And false. He became poor. He became rich again. A lot of things we talk about this, about what we study, what we read here. And this is the last book in our big book on the great characters of the Old Testament. It's interesting, he ends the book with the story of Job. One of the things I thought was interesting when we read through here, several of the things that we talk about, maybe we haven't even thought about, so the book brings it out. The first page 34, on the first paragraph, it says, a picture of suffering humanity. The book of Job is one of the greatest poems ever written. The key word is pride. He knows the way that I take, and when I have tried him, I shall come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Trial and suffering are not always our punishment. I think that's one of the things that the world doesn't see. A lot of times if you suffer, just like Job's friend, it's kind of like they blame you for it. What did you do? Surely you must have done something wrong. And we know that in this case it's not the case. And in our case, hopefully it's not the case either. Some of the key words we're going to talk about is righteousness, upright, justified by the Lord, different phrases like that even today we should apply to our lives and be like Job. He also points out that Tennyson called the book of Job the greatest poem, whether ancient or modern literature. I didn't know that literary people had talked about Job like that, but apparently they had. So Tennyson thought it was the greatest poem for ever time. Victor Hugo said the book of Job is perhaps the greatest masterpiece of human mind. One thing that's interesting, you find in chapter 1 and 2, you find a conversation with God and Satan. It's pretty rare to think about that. Actually, Satan being allowed to touch all that Job had. Then chapter 2 going into actually the body of Job physically, torturing it, covered head and foot with serious boils. Thomas Carlyle, paragraph number 2, said that the book of Job, I call this book apart from all theories about it, one of the greatest things ever written. Our first, almost statement, a never-ending problem, man's destiny and God's ways with him on the earth. There is nothing written, I think, equal literary merit. So these three men claim this book to be great. Should that make us think any more of the book of Job than we did before we started this lesson? Probably not. If it's in God's book, it's inspired of God, it should be the greatest volume, the greatest collection, regardless of what these men say. One of the things we need to think about is, as great as these men are, and as literary talents as they are, what they think spiritually really wasn't won't apply to us in judgment unless they agree perfectly with the Word of God. Talking about the land of Uz, Job 1:1, he's talking between Palestine and Arabia, extending from Edom, toward the Euphrates River. This would have been a place near the caravan route between Babylon and Egypt, on high traffic route, lots of trade. Tradition assigns the home of Job in the east region of the Sea of Galilee, noted for its fertility of soil and large population of grain, production of grain. I've got kind of a tainted view of the Middle East. When you talk about lush green pastures and rivers and waters, that's not what I picture. I always picture the worst. I always picture the desert parts, the mountain parts, where you wonder why people do, how they can live there. But in this place at this time, obviously he was blessed. He lived in if you think about it, the perfect city. financially, physically, it was a perfect place. The area was once thickly populated. It is now dotted with the ruins of more than 300 cities. Flip over to Job 1, verse 1. I'm going to go ahead and read some of this. Jump back and forth between the book and the lesson. The author finishes up the first page of that paragraph. So Job was a real man who lived in the land of Uz. Many have thought Job was not a real person, but his personification of suffering for humanity. God, through the prophet Ezekiel, said, through these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it. They should deliver their own souls. Ezekiel 14:14. So he's referred to him later in the Bible as a man like Noah and Daniel. Three great men, if you think about their trust in the Lord, their faith in the Lord, and knowing that in the end, God would reign supreme and still reign supreme. And you've heard of the patience of Job, James 5:11. That's probably the most known verse about Job we know in the New Testament or from the Bible. Job was a patient man, and he waited on the Lord. A lot of discussion going on about that. There is no reason for supposing Job was not a real character who lived on earth. It seems that Job was a member of one of the early tribes descending from Abraham and living along the northern border of Arabia about the same time the Israelites were in Egypt. So this puts him as a contemporary of Moses. The author goes on to talk about the oldest book in the world, possibly written by Moses or written by Job. It doesn't matter. It's a very precise rendering of his life based in that time frame. If you look at the Bible in Job 1, let's go around the room. I'm going to read 7 or 8 verses from Job 1, and let's go around the room and read all the way down through the end of chapter 2. 3, 4, 5 verses, whatever you feel comfortable with, we'll go around the room. So there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And the man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there was born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 5,000 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went forth and feasted in their houses every one his day, and sent and called to their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings, according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Verse 6.
Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and eschew evil. Satan answered the Lord and said, that Job feared God not, hast not thou made a hedge about him, about his house, and about all that hath every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face.
And the Lord said unto him, Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thy hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when the sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a visitor unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them. And the serpent fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain their servants with the edge of the sword, and I only have escaped death. And while he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the fire of God has fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed. And I only am alone, escaped along with death. And while he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the Chaldeans made up 3 hands and fell upon the camels, and carried them away. Yea, and they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only have escaped death. While he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the sons and the daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. Behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. It fell upon the young men, they're dead, and I only have escaped to tell you. Job arose, put his mantle, shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped, and said, naked came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return to the Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolish. Explain to me how he took it that way. I'm listening.
I don't have a good answer. He definitely, we talked about how that God had noticed him. We talked about how that God said that he would walk upright, eschewed evil, hated evil.
How many Jobs do you think there might be in the earth today?
Very, very few. I think it's.
I would measure to that. All that would be today.
There's probably, well, as far as the camels, there's not a camel, the livestock, that's not that big a deal. But you destroy my 10 kids, I don't know.
I could take 10.
Yeah. With your own children, that's pretty rough. It makes a very strong man to see past that. It's one thing that we've already read. Verse 6, he talks about he offered sacrifices for his sons and daughters, lest they had cursed God in their hearts, and just did Job continually. Verse 5, sacrificing for his children, praying and hoping that they are saved in God's eyes. And then at the end of the chapter, it talks about Job sin not, or charged God foolishly, the last verse 22. Even after that had been taken away. A lot of people, like we're talking about, would fall back and say, I've been sacrificing for all these years, and now you're taking away. And they're playing God. But that'd be foolish. I think that's one of the things that, as far as the literary content, it is a great book for us to study. And Job's attitude, if you read verse 20, if you split that up, it said, and Job arose, rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down on the ground. Instead of saying worship there, he could have blamed God. He could have cursed God. But he worshiped. He worshiped God. And basically, he did not charge God foolishly. And that's an awesome example for us.
I think verse 22 sets him apart from me.
Did not charge God foolishly. He,
I think I'd be saying, why? Why?
And we see that even today. Many of our friends are suffering. And you kind of wonder, why is this happening? It's common, humans, all men suffer. Our days on earth are few and full of misery. But there is an end coming, and there is a reward coming. I think it's one thing that the book of Job keeps pointing out, especially when we get toward the end of this, after the conversation with God and Satan, and then later on God and Job. God is asking Job all these questions, and he comes through basically and is rewarded, I guess, in the end, the way we hope to be rewarded in heaven. Miss Ann, if you don't mind, start with chapter 2, verse 1. Let's read it together.
Again, there was a day when the sons of God came
Satan came also among them to tempt him still to live. And the Lord said unto Satan, from hence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered thy servant Job? And there is none like him in all the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God, and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity throughout maliciously against him to destroy him without cause.
So Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, that's all that a man has, he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with painful boils from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. And he took for himself a potsherd with such to scrape himself while he sat in the midst of the ashes. And his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips.
When Job's lived through it all, the evil ones come among him. They came everyone from his own place. And so, for they had made him one he had come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes unto long, and he lifted up their voice and wept, and they went every one to his mantle, and sprinkled dust on their head towards him. So they sat down upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great.
Okay. Thank you. These first two chapters of Job, a lot has been said about these passages, these verses, these commentaries, if you think about it. Here in chapter 2, it goes from his physical things that he had and his family to his skin, to his own body, to his flesh. Can you imagine being covered with boils from head to toe? Scraping and basically cutting them off with a rock, basically, to get release. Painful. No end of suffering. Can't rest, can't sleep, obviously. You can't imagine that. Yet he didn't curse God. He didn't even turn on God. His wife, verses 9, 10, 11, or 9 and 10, you would hope that she would stand by him and help him, but she didn't have a whole lot of help. Curse God and die, verse 9 is her, basically, she lost 10 children also. We need to remember that. She had, in my opinion, kind of what, if we're not careful, the normal response.
I think when things happen to us, it's very good if we think we're in bad shape. None of us grieve. I know my brother suffered a great deal, but he showed his life to read that. He found some comfort and fellowship with Job.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said there too. The second thing I thought was kind of the people you thought would help was 3 friends. And even they traveled from afar. I don't know how close that, how far they were. They set up an appointment and they came to mourn with him and comfort him. But for 7 days and 7 nights, they spake not a word, for his grief was great, very great. grieving, but not sinful. Grieving his loss, grieving his family, obviously. He didn't sin. Chapter 3 goes into Job basically opening his mouth and cursing the day that he died, the day that he was born. Basically, humanity going through the things that he lives, the things that I guess made him what he was, but never blaming God for any of this. Verse 4, his friends answered and saith, if we essay to commune with thee, thou wilt be grieved. But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him that is fallen, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it is come upon thee, and thou faintest. It toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. Is not this thy fear, thy confidence, thy hope, and thy uprightness of thy ways? Remember, I pray thee, who ever perished, being innocent? Or where were the righteous cut off? His friends didn't support him. Think about it. They all offered questions. What did you do? Why? What sin did you do? But yet Job keeps answering, going back. Who am I? That I should blame God, basically, is the kind of guy that he keeps answering. Bouncing back to the book, let's go ahead and I'll read the rest of what the author had written. Talk about page 35 at the top. It says, many people believe that Job is the oldest book in the world and deals with the oldest problem in the world. Why do godly people suffer? This is the theme of the book. It gives God's answer to the question. Many of the Jews believe that the suffering is a result of personal sin. The book of Job gives an entirely different answer. Job was honored for being permitted to suffer for God. Jewish tradition describes this book to Moses. Moses was in the wilderness of Midian, Exodus 2:15, which borders the Edomite country. He could have learned the story of Job from Job's immediate descendants or from Job himself. Moses may have written the book, or it may have been written by Job himself. Modern criticism has assigned a much later date to the book of Job, and there is no reason whatsoever for this, except for the everlasting effort of some critics to destroy faith in God's Word and His Word. We believe Job to be the real person, and that the book was written about the same time as Moses. That paragraph hit me kind of strange. Why do critics of the Bible want to change things in the Bible? Anyway,
They right there.
if they can change it and disprove it at all, it's all worthless. All or nothing. It all stands together. It all falls together. And that's why many times we don't trust New and Revised versions, especially if they don't ring true to the old text. We go into the writings of the Bible, the canon of the Bible, the way it's kept, the way it's maintained, and especially the way that the language is died that it was used in. Never changes. So if something comes out new and improved in 5 or 10 years, it talks about they found a new Bible. There's actually a book, The Lost Books of the Bible, I think, somewhere.
I've been sitting there. My friend had mentioned 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I picked up a rock.
Think could put an end to the conversation right there.
Now it's come on me and I was stated. Of course, whoever perished being innocent, you know what he said there? Guilty. That's what happened.
Right. So what did you do to deserve this?
That's what we think about people on some hard look at some. We don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Some sin obviously has physical consequences. Some don't. Some actually seem to be rewarded almost. But in the end, think about the day of judgment. think about if Christ returned in the next 15 minutes. Obviously, a lot of us would be changing what we're doing a lot of times. Be a lot more prayerful, a lot more concerned of the lost, knowing that basically everybody had 15 minutes before judgment. Job never gave up. I guess one thing is that is his crowning glory. If you think about it, 10 kids, all killed, all his sheep, all his all his livestock. He went from being a very wealthy person to basically not even be able to rest because he had balls head to toe. In the book of Job, a historical poem based on the events that actually occurred, Job is one of the greatest and most widely known men in this part of the world. He was both the patriarch of vast herds of cattle, oxen, and servants. 7,000 sheep, family, 10 children. All at once, his camels were stolen and servants killed by bandits. Canaanite robbers, or Chaldean robbers. His oxen were stolen and the servants killed by bandits, robbers. His sheep and their attendants were destroyed by a storm. Flip over that verse. I got a little star there beside that for some reason. I think I know what I did for it. Verse 16, chapter 1. And while he was yet speaking, while the messenger was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God has fallen from heaven, and has burned up the sheep and servants and consumed them, and only I have escaped alone to tell thee. The fire of God. In my sarcastic mind, they're giving God too much credit. That's not the fire of God, is it? Did God cause that fire? He allowed it. I mean, it's kind of like where tornadoes pass through, and someone says, God caused this or something. Then we need to be careful there. That servant, that person would fight back was the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, and that's not where it came from.
This calamities that fell upon Job, it's all upon us today. We say, who is it for?
God allowed it to happen. Why did these things happen to us? We're not careful, we will. Remember Job, that's a good saying to remember. Job himself later hideous and painful wounds covering his entire body. You can imagine how, having a single boil, how much it hurts. Imagine that being cover your entire skin. You can't sit down, you can't walk, you can't sleep, obviously you can't lay down. Your flesh is basically painful to the touch.
Did you read the boy? There's that verse that says, when his friends came to see him, they were far off, and they couldn't recognize him. So they really wasn't sure it was him until they got closer.
Verse 12, and they knew him not. He had shaved his head, obviously, he ripped his mouth, and he was weeping, or not weeping, but in grief. And they joined him and sat for 7 days and 7 nights.
Well, so I guess it's his face and his arms and all the figures that boils too.
I thought about that. It's so very telling just how serious it was. His figure, boils on his face, obviously. I think the worst, the irritation that we think of now, compared to that, are probably nothing. The pain that he was in. The last paragraph is on the page 35 says the story is so unusual that it is known far and wide. For many months, people talked about it in Job 42:11. Ben wrote about it in Job 13:26. The book contains some of the things that Job and his friends said and thought. It contains God's answer. And some of the most brilliant thoughts in the world are found here. The book deals with from human sufferings. Perhaps from the dawn of human history, men have wondered how a good God would make a world where men suffer. Many times this suffering is endured by those who least deserve it. We probably do not understand the problem any better than did Job. We do know that the Lord Jesus Christ, God came down to earth as was now a partaker with us of the suffering of mankind. While this may not increase our understanding of the suffering, it does help us to be reconciled to the suffering, and to know that all things work together for good to them who love the Lord, are called according to His purpose. The New Testament verses. The book of Job teaches us that eventually we will be separated from our earthly possessions. That's a key, I think, to what we're talking about. That all men will suffer trial, and even bring glorious blessings at the hand of God if we remain faithful. When you think about the conversations, one of the things I kept thinking about was the conversation of Satan. In the New Testament, obviously, you have a red letter edition, you have the words of Christ in red. You almost need to have something to think to mark what Satan said to God. The conversation they had, even in the Garden of Eden, if you think about the conversation with Satan and Eve, walking among the people of earth, and still touching them with serious temptations. Eve was tempted with the forbidden fruit, good knowledge of good and evil. She desired that. So did Adam. And here you can picture the human side of Job give in. Like his wife, curse God and die. Get over with it. His friends even many times asking him what's happening. Roaring lion, voice of the fierce lion, like prey. Thine ear receiveth little thereof. Just let it go. It's not worth it. And Job keeps going back to them and telling them that they've lost their side. He's suffering, but they've given up already. Any comments about this? We just kind of scraped the beginning of the book of Job, first two chapters. Any comments before we move on? The other verse that I was looking for, which is kind of a famous quote, Job, talk about man's lot, Job 14, verse 1. Man that is born of woman is a few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also a shadow and continueth not. And dost thou open thine eyes upon such an one, and bringest unto judgment with thee? Who can bring a clean thing out of the unclean? Not one. Seeing his days are determined, and numbers months 3 with thee, thou hast appointed his bonds that he cannot pass. Turn from him, and he may rest, till he shall accomplish as an hireling his day. For there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, it will sprout again, and the tender branch thereof will not cease. An old tree gets cut down. Many times you'll see it try to grow back. It'll sprout, come back, and regrow itself. And physically, that's what happened to Job. Spiritually, that's what we hope will happen with us. We know we're going to sin, we know we're going to fail, but we can't spring back. If you have a book, page 36, there's several questions there. We'll ask those as we go through it. It says, where did Job live? What was the land called? Uz. Job lived in Uz. It was green, it was fertile, and he had many things to be thankful for. James, what did he say about James or Job say about James was, remember the patience of Job. So he called him to remembrance in the New Testament. What's the main theme of the book of Job? What In your own words, what would you think of there? What's the main thing? Or one of the main things? There's probably several.
You suffer, don't blame God.
You're going to suffer. Don't blame God. I think one of the things is, in the end, God will reward us. Keep our eyes on that, eyes on the goal. I think it's kind of curious how that the Bible points out the numbers of sheep that he had. So how many sheep did Job own? 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen. Is a yoke of oxen 4 or 2? I don't know. Or is it 1?
It's 2.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So it said 500 yoke. I'm thinking it's 1,000 oxen. Full. So we're thinking alike. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but he had a lot. Think about the land. Think about the servants he had, and they were killed with the edge of the sword. They were taken away. Number 5, how many children did Job have? He had 10 children, 7 sons and 3 daughters. What happened to the oxen and the asses and the servants and the sheep of Job? They were all what? They were all stolen. And the servants were all killed. His camels, what happened to the camels? That was the one that was a little different, I think. Was his camels the one that were killed with the fire from God? Or was that the sheep? Burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. The sheep were killed with the fire from God. The others were stolen and killed. All taken away. Interesting how even the one that allowed to escape or whatever, the messenger of bad times, one from thousands, obviously, of servants to these 3 or 4 that escaped. His children, obviously, the great wind killed them. Talk about the tornado or cyclone. Smoke on in verse 19. There came a great wind from the wilderness, smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men. They are dead. I alone escaped to tell them. The children were all killed with the destruction of their house. Job's response: he prepared himself to mourn, but yet he worshipped. Was the answer to the next question. Putting on sackcloth or rent his clothes, rent his mantle, shaved his head, and fell upon the ground and worshipped. He responded the way God would have him respond. He was blessed for it. One of the key words, I don't think it's on the questions here, but he retained his integrity. I think throughout all these tests and all these trials, that's one of the key words, his integrity. He didn't give in, and he didn't blame God for any of it, but he acknowledged that he was a man, brought nothing into the world and would take nothing out. We've heard that paraphrase quite often. But his soul, his spirit, lives on. Number 10, it says, what terrible disease was Job's body smitten with? I think your reading was painful, some boils, hideous boils, from head to toe. Sometimes we get poison oak or mosquito bites and just think we can't stand it, or sunburn. And think about that. Nothing compared to what Job went through. Scraping himself with a potsherd, just trying to get some kind of relief. Number 11, what advice did Elihu give in Job 34, verse 4? Flip over there. That's toward the end of the book of Job. Sometimes it's good just to open the book of Job and just kind of jump in and start reading some of the phrases, some of the things that they're saying, and try to figure out who's speaking. Here, Verse 34 says, furthermore, he answered and said, hear my words, O you wise men, give ear to me, ye that have knowledge. For the ear trieth words, and the mouth tasteth meat. Let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am righteous, and God hath taken away my judgment. Should I lie against my right, and my wound is curable without transgression? What man is like Job, who drinketh of scoring like water? Verse 4 was what the reference was. Let us choose to us judgment, and let us know among ourselves what is good. What is good? That's the answer we need to be looking for. Let us know what is good. Even today, we go home, watch TV or whatever, get on the internet. What's good? What's godly? What's spiritual? What's not? What's worldly, sinful? We need to make that distinction and separate ourselves from it. Number 12, how many of God's questions that Job answered? Flip over a few pages to Job 38. Talk about the power of God. God answers Job. I didn't count them, but there's a huge list of questions that basically God's asking Job. And if you look at 38 through, I think it goes down through 40. Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, this is verse 40 of, or chapter 40 of Job 1, 2, 3, 4. So, moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth God, let him answer it. Then Job answered the Lord and said, behold, I am God. What shall I answer thee? I may lay my hand upon my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice I will proceed no further. He recognized who he was. He knew God Almighty in these previous 4 or 5 chapters had done all those things and could do all those things. That created the heavens and the earth, created the fish and the seas, changed the waters, did all these wonderful things that, and Job recognized he was just a man and wouldn't answer. Sometimes it's good for us to not speak, but listen. Quickly, the book of Job talks about the earthly possessions that eventually they'll all be taken away, and yet we lose them without seeing. 14 says, what does the book of Job teach about trials and tribulations? All men is referred to several times in the book of Job. All men like grass. All men will suffer. It's part of our humanity, if you think about it. And verse 15 says, question 15, what does the book of Job teach us about the end of the story? What's the final reward? If you look at the last, I'm not going to have time to, the class is already broken up next door. Job 42, if you get a chance, read that this afternoon. Just kind of think about the reward, the physical reward that God gave Job. Verse 42. Actually, if you think about it, I think you came out even more blessed than you did when you started. Hopefully I've said something or stumbled on something that gives something to think about today. I do appreciate your reading, your attendance. We'll take over a new book next week. Thank you.
brushes off.
I've seen it before. I see how it's happening right here. Just shake your head. All he needs to do is bob his head a few times. All right. Congratulations. That's good. All right.
Put it in our bag. Okay. No, I was testing gravity and it worked. Second person said that. It's a shirt. Hi, Dad.
Look.
Hey. Hey. Hey, baby.